summer of 2017, my wife and I were actually homeless.
Wow.
We had serious drug addiction problems, and it cost us everything. Felt like everyone was out to get me. I was, to be candid with you, I was schizophrenic.
I just want to pause because 5 years ago you were homeless. You're on track to beat people that have never done the reset.
This is a big part of my why, man. I basically want to be the fittest, best-looking old man I can possibly be. I didn't write this on the sheet there because I wanted to tell you this. I want to have a child. I want to have a family, you know. However, for her to conceive is going to be very difficult. It's heavy for me, you know. I have a hard time talking about it. Sometimes it makes me want to cry just talking about it, man.
What's the process look like?
It's kind of a money thing, and I hate to say that, but it's the reality of the situation. And so I need to get on my grind here over the next few years.
I love that your why is far greater than just money. Give me a little context of why your credit is where it is.
I was addicted to drugs. You do all types of dumb stuff with your credit when you're in that state of mind. So there's some bad stuff lingering on my credit from that I need some help repairing and getting fixed.
Why don't you create something and sell it?
Fear, and also not sure of exactly what to create and sell.
Have you heard my value leveraging breakdown? Not all products or services are created equal. You have colleagues that work with you that do the same job, maybe make the same amount of calls and make less.
Yes.
Why? You're better at your job than they are. I need to say this. This is not financial advice.
I know.
This is for educational purposes only. I can't give tax advice, investment advice, insurance advice. Ty, welcome to Naked Numbers.
Thank you, Caleb. I appreciate you having me, sir. Honored to be here.
It's fun because you're the first Naked Numbers in the studio in person, and you actually made us get the studio put together. We had everything. Laid out, and because of you, the cameras are on, and I think this is going to start a really cool momentum for us. So thank you, and vice versa. I know that you've made a commitment with time and money to be here. You flew out to be in person, and it's an honor to have you in the studio. I love your energy.
Thank you.
And I believe we're going to have incredible breakthroughs today. And so I just want to give a little bit of context before we jump into your numbers. I know you have a powerful story. I know there's lots of things going on. And I believe the numbers are going to tell some of the story. But I think that there's going to be some things in our conversations that have nothing to do with what you shared with me financially, but are going to be within you. So with that,
Sure.
Give me a little context of why you're here, and then we'll jump into your numbers.
Okay, so I'm very honored to be here. I've poured over a ton of your content. You're very good at what you do. You have a very awesome energy about you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I feel that we must be willing to pay any price and travel any distance to associate with extraordinary human beings.
Wow.
So here I am. I view the expense of the trip as a nominal fee compared to the value I'm going to receive by meeting with a gentleman like yourself. So thanks again for having me. And I'm here for primarily direction.
Yeah.
I'm a high W-2 income earner, and not 100% sure exactly where to direct that income to. This has only been going on for me for about 5 years now. To kind of share with you a little backstory. In summer of 2017, my wife and I were actually homeless.
Wow.
We had serious drug addiction problems. That led to me losing my job. I had developed a career as a security professional. I had been running a security director for multiple properties in my hometown. And I started into drug addiction, and it cost us everything, and my wife as well, and we ended up being homeless. We're homeless for about a full year, till about summer of 2018. My wife's family took me in. I was, to be candid with you, I was schizophrenic. Couldn't discern reality from fantasy, felt like everyone was out to get me, extremely paranoid. That is clinical schizophrenia. I couldn't hold down a job or really maintain a relationship. My wife, bless her heart and soul, stayed with me no matter what.
Wow.
And we've been together for about 16 years now.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. So then I got into sales, doing business development, because one of my very good friends, my buddy Joe, who I'm sure will watch this at some point, love you, Joe. He saw me at the gym regularly, could tell that mentally I was pretty much back together for the most part. I've known Joe my whole life. And he just approached me and said, hey, man, I know how smart you are. I know how well you can speak. Come work with me. You'll make some good money. It'll be a good experience. And so I started doing sales in business development. So we set up LLCs, corporations, nonprofits. We do business credit, trademarking, logos, websites, and so on, even estate plans, trusts, and things of that nature. Yeah. So I've learned a lot working there over the past 4 or 5 years. And now we recently started a business. We recently started a YouTube channel.
Good for you,
We're
dude.
starting to build it up. It's not quite
What's the
monetized
YouTube
yet,
channel,
but we're
okay?
close. What's up?
What's the YouTube channel?
We're creating the content right now.
Okay.
We haven't started the channel just yet.
Okay.
We're getting all the content loaded. I'm actually using a coach, a mentor on this.
Okay.
A guy named Scott Smith. Scott is awesome, very good at what he does. If you want to make money on YouTube, seek out Scott Smith. He's good at his stuff. So we're creating the content now. Once all the content's locked and loaded, we'll then open up the channel and then rock and roll with the content.
Well, do me a favor. When this gets released, let's get your channel up so that we can help with subscribers and get the momentum moving.
Appreciate it, man.
You got a message that's going to be powerful. So you're homeless, and your humility. Like the beautiful thing about your story is lots of people have never quote unquote took the L, and so they're like hedging, but they're living a lousy life, and they're just like hedging. And you've already quote unquote lost. You felt it,
100%.
And so like the humility. But when I first met you, I'm like, wow, this guy's like ready to go. And I think that's going to treat you extremely well. So what was the first year, starting to work? Like, did you make any money that year or like?
Yeah, I made about $60,000 my first year at the company. And it was interesting. Joe kind of called that out when he said, with moderate success, you'll make about $60K. And then sky's the limit after that. And so first year I was only there from, I want to say February is when I started, time of year was February. Didn't really like get on the phones talking to people till probably end of March. And then by the end of the year, I made over $60,000. So it was not too bad, especially in the area where I live. I live in northern Nevada, where it's not, it's not crazy expensive, although it's getting worse and worse as the economy goes, of course. But it's decent money. And then each year I've done more and more. Went from 60 to 84, then from 84 to like 96, then from 96 to a little over 100, and then let's see what happens next year, or this year, I should say.
And you're on track to make over 120?
Yeah, I'm on track this year. I should be between 110 and 120 is my projection.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
What I would want to understand is, what do you actually sell? Like, talk to me about how you make money.
Business development services. So we help you set up LLCs, corporations, nonprofit organizations. We have enrolled agents that can help you with your 501c3 forms.
Cool.
We do business credit, trademarking, websites, logos, estate plans, trusts, contracts, partnership agreements, and so on. Essentially a full business development firm.
Awesome. So people call you, you very much vet where they're at, and then you're able to sell them things on the back end.
You got it.
Awesome. Okay. And so you've been doing that for five years.
Oh yeah, close to 5 years now.
You started making about 60,000, and now you're on track to make over 120.
I'm on track to, I'd say between 110 and 120 is the goal this year. 120 is reaching kind of high, but I've become more confident in myself over time.
Yep.
I used to have the mentality of I can never sell anything. I can never be like involved in sales. And then when I found an ethical sale of something that interested me, it made me feel good about it. Like, okay, cool, I'm helping people be entrepreneurs. And when COVID happened back in 2020, I was worried. I thought the job was going to end. But it was interesting to me that as Americans lost their regular jobs, they're resourceful, they're resilient. They went and started businesses. They said, okay, you're going to take on my job? Fine, I'll go start a business, start an LLC, and I'll make my money that way. So we blew up through COVID. We got super busy, made pretty good money, and it's continued growth ever since. The company's doing better than ever.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Are you guys attract a lot of people that are just starting off, established businesses? Like, what's the niche?
Primarily new business owners, primarily brand new.
Cool.
So, I mean, the company I work for is called Inc. Authority. They're been around since, I think like 1989, I believe. And if you look us up online, you'll see it's like the longest standing, highest rated company in the business startup space. Tons of 5-star reviews out there, and a ton with my name in them. That's one thing I found too. I want to share with you is I'm one of our better producing sales reps, but I'm the best at getting 5-star reviews. The best, period. We do an award every month for that called our Wow Award, because when the customer hangs up the phone, you want them going, wow, that was awesome.
Wow.
And so I win the Wow Award pretty much every single month.
So what is the secret to a 5-star review?
Go above and beyond for the client. You ever read a book called The Go-Giver?
Love that book.
Good book, man. Very good book. And as you know, it's about serving before selling. And so I approach every call as I'm going to serve this person. I'm going to give them all the information I have that I believe will help them, that is relevant to the business they're starting. Whether they're a truck driver, a Shopify store, a cleaning service, whatever it is, if I know something about your industry, I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to share with you any tax information I might know related to your industry and go just a little above and beyond. And just when you hang up the phone with me, I want you to go, wow, that guy was awesome. He helped me out. He hooked me up. I want you to feel like you just parted ways with a friend. And I always end every call by, hey, if I can ever help you in any way down the road, please contact me anytime. Awesome. Here's an email. All my contact information's on the bottom. Call, text, or email me. And if I can't help you with whatever it is,
amazing.
I'm pretty good at finding the right people that can. So just let me know.
Yep.
And then I tell the customers, if you leave me a 5-star review, my boss has to buy me lunch. And it's true. It's true.
And people feel so indebted, and it's such a small thing for them to do in the grand scheme of things.
It is.
But they wouldn't do it if there wasn't a wow effect.
Exactly.
There's something that really hit me from the dating world. Okay, so someone once told me when I started, getting to the age where I could date, is Caleb, you want to leave women better off for having known you, regardless if you marry them or not.
100%.
And that just stuck with me. It's like, I want my interactions to be so life-giving that even if we broke up, you would look back and say, I was better off for that. And I just think, regardless of if I did that or not, I think like now in business, I'm like, regardless if someone does business with us or not, I want them to feel so grateful for, like, I just want them to have this feeling inside that we serve them. And so I love that. And that's really the heart behind the show. It's just like, how do we have conversations and document what we've been doing for 6 years?
Yeah.
Like, document some of the conversations. And it takes brave people like you. But I really believe that we're going to exponentially grow because we're documenting the value that we've been giving for many years. And so I just agreeing with how you think.
Yeah, and that's kind of what attracted me to you and what brought me out here to Tennessee to do this with you was all your content that I poured over, everything I've seen about you, everything I can feel about you and see on your face and hear in your tone of voice is you want to help people. I love your motto. My mission is to help people see and reach their highest potential. I love that, brother. I used to do personal training, and that was kind of my goal there was when I train you and you work out with me regularly and your body improves, your brain improves as well. Yeah. You become more confident and you begin to see and reach your higher potential. Yeah. Although I'd never heard that saying until I read your book. And so amazing saying. And I feel just every piece of content I've seen from you and now interacting with you in person, the energy I get, it's real. Yeah. It's real. And I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. All right. We're going to jump into your numbers.
Let's go.
And it's going to, what I'm going to do my very best is just, I want yes or no, get the data, and then we're going to go into the stories. Okay. So sometimes we have a tendency of like, here, let me talk to you about why or justify numbers. Let's just get the data, and then we'll dive in from income, assets, liabilities, and beyond.
Cool.
And so I see that you're 40 years old?
41.
41 years old.
Yes, sir.
41 years old. You bring in 100 to 120,000.
Somewhere in that
ballpark.
ballpark.
It looks like your wife brings in about 45 to 50,000.
Yep.
And then you have a training people side hustle of 5K.
Yeah.
Okay. So you make around 170,000 as a household.
Approximately, yeah. I'd say 165, 170 right in there's a reasonable estimate.
From assets, you've listed everything, but you have about $65,000 in savings and investments.
Approximately.
And then when we add your other things like your car, your Bitcoin, your Subaru, so it tells a little bit about you. You got a Subaru. Some people love you. Some people think you're that's the biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. We're looking at assets of over 100,000. I just want to pause because 5 years ago you were homeless.
Yes, sir. I was. 5 years ago I was homeless, man.
Brother, that's incredible.
It's a complete 180 since then. And I expect an additional 180 in a more positive and further positive direction after interacting with you and getting some direction.
Yeah, love that. I just want to. You're on track to beat people that have never done the reset. Just incredible. All right. When it comes to liabilities, I see it looks like you have a credit card that has a balance of about $2,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it an outstanding loan, or are you just paying the minimum payment on that?
Oh, I could pay that off today if I want to. I'll pay it off before the interest payment hits.
Okay, so you don't pay the interest.
Heck no, man.
Okay.
I avoid that like the plague.
Okay, cool. And then you don't have any other debts. Okay?
Just the mortgage.
Just your mortgage, and I don't necessarily consider that in the debt category. We'll talk about that in a second. I looked at your expenses that you don't necessarily spend anything that's like crazy. Anything that when you look on your budget, you're like, why am I spending this?
Well, the thing I do splurge on is food.
Yeah.
Like we really good food. Everything's got to be organic. I don't eat out at most restaurants because I don't like the way they prep the food. I'm super conscious about my health these days. I basically want to be the fittest, best-looking old man I can possibly be. That's the goal here. I want to stay healthy and active for my wife as long as I possibly can because, men tend to die a little bit younger than women, and I do not want to leave my wife alone. So I want to hang out for as long as I possibly can with her.
You're just jealous. You don't want her to remarry without
You know it.
So
Can't have that, man.
We can't have that at all.
Got to keep around.
All right,
You got to stay dateable.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so great on the liabilities. When it comes to real estate, you have an amazing interest rate of 3.8%. It's not 2%. I've seen some crazy interest rates, but congrats on the less than 4%. You have your market value right now of your home is $480, and you have an unpaid balance of $451,000. I'm assuming this is a 30-year mortgage. Your payment is $2,900.
Yeah, approximately, yes, sir.
Okay, and I just did a cash flow index on this, and it's super good, like
nice.
a very healthy debt, and so love that. When it comes to legal documents, you work for a company that helps people with their estate plans, and it doesn't look like you have any.
I don't. You are correct about that.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. And then when it comes to life insurance, you have it looks like a very small group life policy, or is it just individual?
Yeah, just group life policy. Well, I think I don't know the terms as well as you, but I believe it's a group life policy. It's through work.
Okay, yeah.
So it's nothing major. It's a very small amount, as you can see there.
Okay. We'll definitely talk about that. You don't have any disability income insurance. Do you know what disability income insurance is?
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's if I get injured, messed up in a car wreck, or blew my back out or whatever, I have money to cover my expenses while I can't work and I'm disabled.
It's essentially an income insurance.
But no, I don't have that.
And so for someone, we'll talk about that, and you can make the decision if that's something that you want to pursue or not.
Okay.
Looks like you have health insurance through work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Long-term care, you don't really need that for where you're at right now. Do you look at your auto and home insurance every year? Do you make sure that you're
Yeah, we just revisited the auto insurance recently and changed that completely because we own the vehicles now outright. And so we reduced the insurance plan because it's wasted insurance. We're both really good drivers. We were paying, gosh, I want to say like over $1,000 every 6 months. And we now cut that to about $500.
And so you essentially, if you get in an accident, they're not going to pay for your vehicle. You're just getting liability.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm just taking care of them if I hit them.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And then you don't have an umbrella.
No, sir.
Do you know what that is?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think an umbrella policy, umbrellas over multiple assets or multiple vehicles over multiple things, right?
Yep. And I think it's one of the most best ways to hedge and for risk management, because usually you can bundle it with your home and auto, and usually you can put $1 to $2 million and it follows you. So you could be in Tennessee and you could be golfing and you could hit a golf ball and hit somebody and they could sue you. Well, what would protect you? It's actually your umbrella would be the thing that protects you. So, and it's insane how cheap it is. And the reason it's cheap is usually it's only like the likelihood of it triggering is low. And so that's just something to look into. And it's next time you're looking at insurance, just ask like, what would it look like for $1 million, $2 million umbrella?
Just to see.
And you'd probably be shocked on how little it is compared to what you're currently paying. So, all right. So now we have life events, and I love this because it really just gives me a picture of like what's kind of going in your head as relates to the future. And you want to purchase a new home. You want to purchase some rental proproperties.
Yep.
You want to purchase a boat, which is definitely a terrible financial decision.
Absolutely. You could not agree with you more.
You want to buy a truck. You want to go on vacation, which is great. Vehicle for your wife. You have both the truck and the wife vehicle at $50K. I don't know if you've done truck shopping.
I now talking to you now and thinking that number of trucks is going to be closer to 70, 80, something like that. You are correct. And my wife is the one driving the Subaru, Caleb. So I got to fix that.
She's got to be in the studio justifying. No, hey, listen, my parents drive Subarus. I'm not going to be in the argument. I'm going to be on the sideline watching people debate.
Well, my wife wants to get on your team, a team minivan. Okay,
I love that.
She loves minivans. Like, she loves it.
I love the fact that she watches our content, and that makes me extremely happy. I'm looking into the camera. Thank you for watching our content. I think minivans are the greatest steal. Greatest, most efficient vehicle of all time.
And my wife loves that about you. Because I used to be kind of anti-minivan, but my wife's best friend has a really nice one. It's like a Chrysler Town and Country. And we use that to move some stuff around one day, and I loved it. I was like, I love this minivan. It's awesome. So now I won't get mad at my wife if she wants to go that way.
You have a kid. You have a kid on, like...
Oh, yeah, I want to have a kid. Okay. I thought you were saying I have a kid. I was like, no, I don't. Not yet. I want to have a kid for sure.
So talk to me about that. Is that something that you guys are actively trying, or how does that? What does that look like?
So me and my wife are both 40 plus years of age. We're both in good health. However, for her to conceive is going to be very difficult. She still has a cycle. We could have a doctor take my seed and her egg, put it together, and make it happen. However, if she carries it, it's extremely unlikely we'll go to term. She's very likely to miscarry.
Yeah.
And so we're looking into surrogacy.
Okay.
In America, surrogacy, you're looking at $100,000 to $200,000. Approximately $150,000 to $175,000 is a good estimate. Insurance will not cover this. So this is a big part of my why, man. I want to have a child. I want to create a legacy. I want to have a family, and it's heavy for me. I have a hard time talking about it. Sometimes it makes me want to cry just talking about it, man. But my wife wants to do this as well. And we know for us, where we're at, to have the child and have the family we really want to have, it's kind of a money thing. And I hate to say that, but it's the reality of the situation. And so I need to get on my grind here over the next few years and get to where I have, $100,000 to $200,000 in capital around so I can invest in growing my family and having a child.
I appreciate you sharing this. I think a lot of times we take things for granted. And you articulating this, I think, is going to be convicting for many, many of us. And I say us because it's convicting, because not everyone is in the situation where they can, snap their fingers and, have the cute family that is on Instagram. And so what is the process? What's the process look like? Like, do you have, is it like adoption where you have a lot of hoops to jump through, or is it essentially just a pay to play kind of deal?
Essentially pay to play, man. That's from my research. Now, mind you, I'm no expert, but from my research into surrogacy, it's essentially a pay to play. Of course, you and your significant other have to have, active, seed and egg, which we do.
Okay.
It's basically a pay to play thing, man. I would go down the road of adoption. I'm not totally opposed to that, but I want to have my own first if I can.
Yeah.
That's just
cool. Well, I'm sure there's lots of opinions, and this shows we're not going to get into the opinions and the ethical nature of that. I just know that this will be added to our prayer request. I have a Naked Numbers prayer request of just because I genuinely want every single person that comes on the show to win.
I love that.
And I love that your why is far greater than just money, because at the end of the day, money is so fleeting, and it's like, it's awesome, but if we don't actually have a deeper purpose, it's like, what's the point?
Money is a tool to get to what we want, or at least that's kind of how I look at it.
Yep.
And then reading a lot of your material and stuff, I love how you're all about efficiency. And you talking about efficiency is what kind of made me look at like my 401k and some other things and go, that's not efficient. That's not working.
Yeah.
So
but it's definitely not going to put a kid.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, dog, you guys don't have a dog, but you want a dog?
No, I want to get another dog. So we have 2 dogs already. We have 2 little mini schnauzers. They're awesome. I love them, but they're little teeny dogs. I joke around with my wife, right? I want a real dog. Okay. Yeah. Honey, if you watch this, I want a real dog. Okay. So by real dog, I mean, I honestly want a Cagna Corso. That's really what I want, like a tank of a dog. But we started with the little doggies. But down the line, I want to get like my dog. I want a dog to where I can send my wife walking the dog anywhere I want and know she's safe. That dog is a walking security system.
I love it. And then talk to me about your hobby and leisure. 100,000. You just put that on your life events. What does that mean when you say hobby and leisure?
Just hunting is my main thing. Okay. I love hunting. I've gotten to hunting the past couple of years, bow hunting specifically.
Yep.
I'm no master of it at all, mind you, but I freaking love it, man. It's so fun to get out there in the wilderness and learn how to track and what a game trail is and how to tell if that's a doe track or a buck track and how to tell if that's doe poop or buck poop or whatever. I know that stuff now. And I would love to get to a space in life where I could go get some professional hunting training. Yeah. And get to where you can drop me in. And I want to get to where you can drop me in any area. Yep. I can locate game and get us food.
Yeah, and I'll potentially share this on. I won't share this on YouTube if you think it's if our media team thinks it's too inappropriate. But I want to show you a picture. I look like I'm 8 years old. I think I'm like 14. This will give you lots of perspective of what I've had to overcome. But I'll show you my little buck that I shot. And I was actually listening to music. I'm not your avid hunter. Let's see. Here, let me find it.
That was one thing I noticed you say. You're like, you were 19 years old, looking like you're 12, giving advice to people about retirement.
Well, like literally, I when I show you this photo, I'm like 15 years old in this photo, and you're going to be like, holy crap.
That's awesome.
What's more impressive?
You look like you're 10 years old.
Yeah.
That's
but that's a big old
yeah,
buck.
that's a big old buck.
I'm listening to music because I'm just like I'm hunting. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I see this thing and let's just say without graphic, I shoot the buck.
Yeah.
And then I have my adrenaline rush because it happens so fast.
Every time.
All that to say, I don't know if that will make YouTube or not, but that's fun. And then start a business and talk to me about business because we're gonna probably talk a lot about this. But like when you say start a business, what does that look like?
So number one, we're working on a YouTube channel right now.
Yep.
It's not up yet. We're going to create all the content first. I'm working with a coach on this. We'll create all the content first, then upload, then create the channel, upload all the content. This should cause it to monetize pretty quickly. Again, I'm working with a coach on that. He knows what he's doing. It's good stuff. And then also real estate. I intend to buy a rental property coming up here in Q4 of this year. I'm not sure yet 100% if I'm going to do a short-term rental like an Airbnb, or if I want to get into maybe like a DSCR loan or DCSR loan, I might be saying that wrong, and get into Section 8 properties. Because there was something that happened during COVID that really bugged me in the real estate market, where if you had a rental property and there's a renter living inside of it long-term, the government suspended their rent payments. So they don't have to pay you rent, but you still have to pay the mortgage. I don't want to be in that situation ever. And so I kind of look at doing Section 8 properties with DSCR loans as the government guarantees that. That's guaranteed. The government's paying that rent every single month, rain or shine, it's going to come in. And so I may get into that or short-term rental, one or the other. I'm kind of up in the air. Okay. And maybe by the time we're done here, you can help me figure that out.
Talk to me about YouTube. What do you want to? What kind of content are you going to be making?
So it's going to be I don't want to say too much on this. It's going to be a faceless channel.
Okay.
So it's not going to be me on there like making my own content.
Yep,
no, it's going to be a faceless channel generating views on content that people look at all the time. We select a niche and we create content related to that niche, and it's a faceless channel. You're never going to know it's me unless I tell you it's me.
I have a good friend, Jake Tran, who does amazing, and he has his own course and all that, and it's pretty cool. And I definitely see that there being lots of potential from sponsorships to just creating content with good writing, and it's very scalable. So
it is, and I know who Jake Tran is. I've seen his content as well online.
So talk to me, and I know you mentioned something about your credit. Give me a little context of why your credit is where it is. I think I can guess because this thing 5 years ago.
You know it, man. So I'm currently at, I want to say about a 660 FICO score right now, which, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's nowhere near, you know as well as I do. A lot of additional doors open up when you get above that magic 700 number.
Yep.
And so, man, about 6 years ago, back in summer of 2017, I was addicted to drugs. Crystal meth specifically, man. Caused me to be schizophrenic. You do all types of dumb stuff with your credit when you're in that state of mind because you're out of your mind. And so there's some bad stuff lingering on my credit from that I need some help repairing and getting fixed. So that's something one of the reasons I came to see you was I'm pretty confident you have resources to help me with that, because there's tons of people all over everywhere. Hey, I'll fix your credit. But I want to deal with someone that I know is legit and I know has my best interests in mind. Yep. And I'm just going to send them more business. That's how I do my job at work. If I could sell you something and make more money right now, but I know it's not the best thing for you, I'm going to do what's best for you, because then you're going to send your friends and family to me, and long-term big picture, I'm going to make more money.
Yeah, I have a gentleman that I'll connect you with, and what we potentially could do is maybe have like a part 2 where you record your guys' conversation, and I think he's amazing, and he's kind of given his blessing to be like, Caleb, anyone that you send over, I'll take care of, and awesome. I will make sure to cover any of the cost of that if there is any that come up in your initial working together, because I would love nothing more for you to like get true clarity from an expert, seeing your situation, seeing if there's anything that needs to happen. So
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are 41 years old. And you're working, you have great income, but the life that you truly want, your income's not reflecting what you need to go. So you've talked about YouTube channel, real estate, and the thing that really is not clear to me is like, I see you, your story, your message, your ability to even speak, see that as a really powerful asset. And what I'm hearing from you is, I'm doing my job, which is great, and there's upside here, but I am focused in my time and energy on all the other things that aren't doubling down on your greatest asset.
You're not wrong.
Why don't you create something and sell it. Is there a reason why you're not doing that?
Fear, and also not sure of exactly what to create and sell.
Okay, that's it. Because you're not. I mean, you're on Naked Numbers, dude.
Yeah.
You shared your story. You're not afraid.
You're right. Okay.
It's like, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of like someone?
Well, I'm afraid
like
of
you do sales for a living.
I know. I'm just afraid of investing a bunch of money into bringing a product to market, or bringing, even if it's myself, marketing myself, having like a YouTube channel where it's me on there talking about working out or business development or whatever it might be. Yep. I'm just concerned about putting a ton of time and effort into that and it not panning out appropriately.
I understand.
But hey, 5 years ago, if you'd asked me, hey, do you think you're going to be a good salesperson? I'd have said, oh, hell no. I can't sell anything to anyone. And then lo and behold, I'm very good at my job.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that just hits me right now, and I want to spend just a little bit of time on this, because it's like one of the things that I think. Have you heard my value leveraging breakdown?
I don't think so.
So money follows value, but what is value? Value is just a perception. It's a supply and demand. Mm-hmm. And so people, we can really only buy one of two things: a service or a product. So you, if I think of you, you're a human, you're a buff, right? You have time. You're 41 years old. You're pretty healthy. Yep. Okay, so you're 41 years old, healthy male. You have relationships, probably low in the relationship category, but you still have good relationships.
I do.
Skill sets. You're a hell of a salesperson. You can talk. You have an incredible story. You're willing to learn. I mean, when we were talking, you're name dropping people. You're reading more than people in our space that do this for a living.
Thank you. And I've been making a commitment lately to read books like Tax-Free Wealth, like the Tax and Legal Playbook, learn from guys like Carlton Dennis and Tax-Free Living and stuff like that. It's very, very educational. And I want to strongly encourage all of our viewers, learn about taxes. Yeah. It's not about what you make. It's about what you keep. The tax code, when looked at appropriately, it's an incentive program. You just have to know what the government's trying to incentivize. That's I got that from Tom Wheelwright. He makes it kind of fun in that Tax-Free Wealth book.
The treasure map.
Yes,
you got to find, And then the last thing is resources. And you got resources, but I can tell you right now, resources aren't going to get you to where you want. So we could play the whole compound interest game. We'll talk about life insurance in a second. All these things, at the end of the day, don't care. Literally, we could put in a high yield savings account and save a lot of time. Okay. Well, we could again, we're going to talk about that because we're all about efficiency. Yeah. But I'm telling you, if I'm investing in your input right now, I'm saying, how do we leverage your skill set, really? Because your health is right. Your relationships are going to continue to compound, but your skill set is the thing. It's like your skill set right now is creating $120,000, which is awesome. I bet we could triple that. But what changes, not necessarily, because I have a feeling you work hard. You probably work you probably put in a lot of time. So it's not like we can't triple your workload. We got to figure out, how do we create a greater service or product for the input of your skill set.
I would agree with you.
And what I love about sales is you can compound it. The beautiful thing about sales is like you can continue to do what you're doing, but my question would be, how do we leverage the service or product that you're creating? So right now, you're creating a service. You're creating a service by when people connect with you, you're incredible at what you do, and because of that incredible nature, you get paid. You get paid $120,000, $140,000 for your ability to connect and serve people, which is amazing. That's the baseline. My question is, can we create services or products, which is a digital product, is something that is interesting because it's scalable. You get paid for the time and skill set that you put in, but it's a 1-for-1 ratio. You put in your time and skill set and you get paid for that. What if there was a world where you can put that input, and that input could be cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching while we're talking right now?
That'd be amazing. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So it's just different perspective. And so not all products or services are created equal. You have colleagues that work with you that do the same job, maybe make the same amount of calls and make less.
Yes.
Why? Because you're better at your job than they are. So it's not like you're better in God's eyes. You're leveraging your skill set better than and the numbers don't lie. And that's why that's why socialism would be a disaster, you know?
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's like, and so my whole point is, okay, doing a great job, but you're here for a reason. And what I want you to know is, like, when I look at your SWOT analysis, I'm like, okay, time-wise, you're good. Like, there's people that would be dying to be 41 years old and healthy. Relationship wise, yeah, there's not like you're doing this, like you're here, you understand it, it's going to continue to compound. But I don't know if you're necessarily one relationship away, even though like maybe you are. This interview gets out to the right person. Someone's like, dude, that guy's a killer. Like I'm excited. Yes. So it's like the relationship could be the thing. But I'm wondering, how do we leverage your story and your skill set? And number one, find potentially different things to sell, or in addition to that, it's like Alex Hormozi talks about. It's like, hey, find more expensive things to sell. That could be one. Or it could be intrapreneur or entrepreneur, and potentially create things in addition that could create greater, so like your skill set. Let's say you put 40 hours in, you get paid. Is there a world where you can leverage your 40 hours and create more than your time? Any questions there? I know that's always a tricky subject because you're working, you love your job, like you love the situation you're in. I'm just letting you know from like we're gonna go into your numbers, but the biggest thing that speaks to me is like I would love nothing more for you to continue to double down on your ability to earn. And there's no reason we need to burn any ships right now. It's just how you already have the mindset. I just want to know why you're putting all this time into a faceless YouTube, which could be good, but I'm like, man, I want your face. And I want you to share with people a fraction of what you've learned from going to literally being homeless to being where you are. What is your thoughts on that? I don't want to get you in trouble, by the way, with your
No.
Okay?
You're good. I'm good with my employer and everything. Okay, cool. They love me, or at least they tell me they love me. Don't lie to me. But no, so I definitely I agree with you. Okay. Now I'll share with you that prior to becoming homeless and being strung out on drugs, I was never a confident person related to people caring about my story or people caring about what I say. However, over the past couple of years, noticing my sales numbers going up and up and up, seeing all these 5-star reviews I'm able to get. And when I talk to people, they tend to listen. And I get my wife constantly like, honey, you need to if we could just get you in front of people talking about certain topics, certain subject matter, they would love it. And you'd be able to generate income off of it. I just don't know how to get into that space or what that space really looks like for me. Almost like someone who's talented but needs a manager. Needs someone to tell them, here's where I can steer your talent to do this, And that's part of why I came here, was to meet you, create a relationship, and then who knows who might see this content, and maybe that creates additional relationships, and then maybe I find the right path to go down to monetize my story, my speech, the stuff I've been through.
So I'm going to go through 3 questions, and you might want to write these down. I'll write these down as well. First question, these are the 3 questions to figure out how to provide value and figure out the value equation, because a lot of people get into business, but it's at the end of the day, it's like, dude, you're not creating a service or product that's valuable. A lot of people fail, and these are the same reasons. So it's like, hey, I don't want to invest my time and money into something that's going to flop. So question number 1 is, who do you want to serve? Who do you want to serve? Who, if you, and it usually goes to who would you want to like encourage and pour into? Who do you serve? And now this is easy for people that already have businesses. So I would write down like, who are some people groups that you want to serve? And one thing that comes to my mind is like people in sales. There are a lot of people in sales that are not great, or they're average. And if they learn on how to be a killer, if they learn how to have better empathy, if they had better questions, you could double their income.
Yeah.
That's one person that comes to mind. There's other people groups that might come to mind. So who do you want to serve? The second question, what pain point do they have? Not what you want to solve for them. What is their pain point? So if we go to the sales route, it's like, okay, maybe you're going to serve the person who's a low performing salesperson or someone that wants more. Their pain point is actually pretty easy. It's financial, and there's a lot of things tied to that. For me, like when I went through this exercise, like let's talk about the life insurance. Nobody is laying in bed worried about compound interest. They're not. When was the last time you argued with your wife about compound interest?
Never happened.
Never. And yet I thought when we were first getting started, like, oh, I'm going to talk about everyone cares about compounding and control and all that stuff. And what I realized is I love working with entrepreneurs, and I love the concept of not having to choose between future and now. Because that really hits me, and that resonates with so many people. It's like, if you're an entrepreneur, you see the vision. You want the right thing for the future. And you understand the power of control. And so like that resonated, and I realized like, oh, people really don't care about compound interest. Maybe I think they should care, but they don't. So let's talk about not having to choose between future and now. And let's help entrepreneurs maximize today while maximizing their future.
I like that. And you cover that a lot in your book as well. You do a great job.
So the second question is, what is the pain point to your ideal client? And the cool thing is you can run 10 different scenarios. You can be like, okay, I want to serve this person. What are their pain points? And then the third question is quite obvious, is how do you solve their problem? How do you solve their pain? And people buy results. People buy outcomes. You know this.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
But that's business 101. I won't get into a business, or I won't invest in anything if I don't understand, number one, who are these people serving? Number two, what are the pain points of these people's, that are their clients or what they're trying to serve? And then number three, how do they solve that pain point? And then we got to get real and say, is this the best solution? And that's tough. There might be some people that run businesses today that, you're solving someone, but deep down that there's other people that are better, and you have a moral obligation to make your service or product better. The cool thing about where we are in, at the time of this recording, like, you can make digital products, and the internet we can create so much value, and it doesn't have to be, input. Like, we're one-on-one right now. The funny thing is, I don't do any like one-on-one coaching currently. The only way to get me one-on-one is actually come on the show.
Smart move by me.
So no, but that's just like currently, and so, but like at the end of the day, there's so many different models. Like, the cool thing is, this is going to generate potentially 6 figures worth of business for us. Yep. How? Well, people might watch this. People might be interested. Like, who knows? There might be a relationship. There might be a company that wants to sponsor Naked Numbers in the future. Who knows what's going to happen? But like we're playing long-term game and relationships. But I'm trying to solve. Like, I go through this on everything. And so in business, it would be, who do you want to solve? Who do you want to serve? What pain do they have? How do you solve that? And if you can answer those 3 questions, is that a service or a product? Most likely it's going to be a service that then you could make a digital product, and boom, you have something that potentially could replace your income.
You're 100% correct. I totally agree with you. We're in the digital age. There's so much money to be made on the internet. It's crazy. And I've just over the past several months decided I need to figure out a way to make money on the internet. And that's why I started the YouTube thing. Yep. I feel like that will work out long-term, big picture, but I do want to do more. I definitely would not be opposed to having my own channel or my own content creation thing, because it would be really nice to help people who think they can't win because they've been homeless. I was homeless 6 years ago, I should say. So, and then here I am talking to you, making $100,000 a year, so the tables can be turned. You can do a 180. You can recover from addiction. You can maintain good relationships through that. You can create new relationships with extraordinary people, like yourself. And so I do, over time, I want to figure out how to monetize myself better. Like you're saying, you're totally correct. And it's something I just don't know exactly which direction to go.
And really, it's just find ways that you can solve people's problems. Yep. And if you can figure out a way to get paid for that, amazing. But just be like, as you just have a notebook, and just as you're thinking of ideas, who, pain, solution. Yeah. And I'm telling you, every business that I've ever been a part of, every business that I've modeled or seen other people, it's you could break that down into those three questions. So from that, then the next step is leverage and figuring out, how do I use the internet? How do I use AI? How do I use relationships? How do I use team members? How do I use other people's money? The problem is the leverage gets very flashy, and we think like, oh, I just need a YouTube channel and that's going to solve my problems. Actually, attention's great. But usually what I love to start is like, let's start with the actual service or product, and then let's build the leverage behind it. Okay. You're doing it a little bit different, which is fine, but it's like the real wealth if you ask anybody in the YouTube space, real money is going to come from selling your own products. The sponsorships, affiliates, and all that stuff is great, and you should go for it. But the real upside is because there's ultimate margin. Yeah. So just food for thought, but we'll move on. Is there any questions that you have as it relates to this? Because this is like the biggest thing, and if there's questions you have for me, I think you get it. But like, when I look at what you want and when I look at your situation, you're doing incredible, but you got some big goals.
Yes, I do. And you mentioned a word earlier, intrapreneur.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
Intrapreneur is someone that says, hey, I don't need to start my own thing. I'm going to work with somebody. I'm going to partner with somebody. Okay. I'm going to potentially create something within the workforce that I am in, and create a win-win where I get upside. Because pretty much entrepreneurship is, you just want upside. You want time freedom and upside. So you don't have to do that by yourself. You can literally find other individuals or within your workplace, and usually typical companies will pay for perceived value. And so if you're able to, that's why you could be making $500,000 in sales, and companies should be super happy to do that because that means they're making a whole lot more than what they're paying you.
Yeah.
Same thing with that's why marketing, on people that really understand marketing, the potential is pretty much unlimited, because if you can help companies bring in more revenue, there's value there.
Absolutely.
And so usually some type of entrepreneur is someone that says, hey, I'm working for this company, and instead of doing my own thing, I'm going to partner with my company inside and create some type of time freedom or financial freedom. And so if it sounds like you're in a good place, and I would be more than happy to break that down more. But at the end of the day, it's just another way to think about how could I be Dave Ramsey, you know how I feel about Dave Ramsey, but he has a brand, Entree Leader. I love that. How could we create entrepreneurial leaders? And I think you can have that in the business, like when you're working for someone. And I think you can do that when you're actually building your own thing. And so all that, how do you be entrepreneurial leader? So I don't know if you have any more thoughts around that, but that's going to be really big. And I can't wait to have follow-ups and just see where your mindset's at, because that's going to be really key to accomplishing what you want to accomplish. That, and taking your skill set and learning how to sell higher valuable things.
Yeah, and I feel like I have several monetizable skills. Like I speak well, I'm very good at sales. I've been one of the top producing reps in my company for 4 years running now. I'm better than anybody I know at getting 5-star reviews. And nowadays that brings a ton of value. I know the lifeblood of a lot of companies is their online reviews, their online reputation. And I'm better at building that than anybody that I know. So that's got a lot of value. I just need to figure out how to get to a new place, or maybe enhance the place I'm currently at to make more money off of that. Also, I'm essentially a walking encyclopedia of health, workout, and fitness-related information. I've been into that stuff since I was like 14 years old. And so I don't necessarily like training people at a gym, but in terms of like counseling, advice, coaching, tell you where to go, what to do, who to do it with, I've got that covered. So I'm very good at sales, getting 5-star reviews, nutrition, working out, human physiology, that type of thing. So it's monetizable. That's got to figure out how.
You could literally do 10 different exercises, and maybe at dinner time we can go through that more. But I just want to give just an example, because it's hitting me, and I think like you're really good at what you do, right? What is the average person pay your company when they work with you and they have an amazing experience? What's the average amount of money that they pay for the package?
I would say a $300 to $400 package is the typical thing. Now, we do have higher ticket items, but in my department with what I do, it's about a $300 to $400 average order value.
Okay, so that's my point exactly. You're a rock star, and the company can only pay so much on a $300.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If you sold a $300,000,
yeah,
just do the math. What you get paid, it's usually. I mean, I'm not again. It's around 10% or something. Yep. There's a world where it's like just potentially take your skill set and sell higher value stuff. And you're doing valuable things. Mm-hmm. Like I love what you're up to, but it's just like, if you're a killer at sales, that's the other route that you could go. And so those are some things, but don't burn the boat. Like there's a world where you can do both.
You're right.
You know, there's flexibility, and that's what's amazing about America. That's what's amazing about the internet is you don't necessarily have to sell for one person only. But if you're a killer at sales and a killer at what you do, potentially there's other places out there that could also use your skill sets, and potentially they could give you a better value for your time than where you're currently at. And
what's really cool, I agree with everything you're saying right now, 110%. Also, the employer I currently work for, they're awesome. I work for really cool people. They're when I told them about this, they were super supportive. They're like, awesome, request a PTO right now. You're good to go.
Awesome.
Go do your thing. And I know I work for the type of people, if I went to them and said, hey, I found an opportunity where I can go make double what I make here, they would shake my hand, encourage me to go do it. And if that didn't work out, I'm 99% sure they'd take me back in a heartbeat.
And you're off the street because of there's other things that we just have to acknowledge, like how incredible is that? And that's why I love your story. And so we're going to move on to your assets, but I really like what I just shared probably is the biggest takeaway that you'll have from Naked Numbers. Okay. So now we're going to look at your assets. You put 10% right now in your 401k.
Yeah, I've reduced that recently, brother. I dropped that down to 3%, and I might stop contributing, and I might go a different direction. That was part of why I came to see you.
Okay, cool. I need to say this. This is not financial advice.
I know.
This is for educational purposes only. I can't give tax advice, investment advice, insurance advice. If you're watching this, don't sue me. If you're going to sue somebody, sue Ty, okay? No, don't sue us. So I just need to make that point. You signed something that said this. So with all that said,
And that's why I never said the word advice. I said coaching and direction because you're on point.
Listen. I think my hope is if we ever quote unquote get in trouble, that people can actually see the heart and why we're trying to do. And it's like, listen, I don't know. Okay, so here's what some people would say. If I was talking to you and you're just like super cool with your job, doing your thing, do the match. It's free money.
Yeah.
My whole point is we gotta make a kid, bro.
We gotta make a kid, bro. 110%, Caleb. You're so right about that. We gotta make a kid, and to do that, we need the money to be more efficiently built and more efficiently usable. And having it inside of a 401k is not the ticket.
My whole point is, okay, you've read the book about the tax deferred and taxes and all that stuff. That's one thing. Let's assume that argument's out the window. So the whole idea is like, why put your money and defer it to an unknown date at an unknown time? My whole thing is, like, you are your greatest asset. We're looking at creating cash flow, and I'm seeing you got $55,000 right now in your 401k. And I see that as, okay, it's what rate of return do you think it grew by last year?
I believe the rate of return was 16% over last year.
It's amazing.
And that's the reason why I haven't canned it yet. Was I looked at the rate of return they got on. I want to say it was about I think it's on the other side there. Flip it over. Right there, 15.74.
Yeah, and I mean the market was incredible. Okay, so
that's my hesitation on walking away from that. Is they seem like they did a pretty damn good job with the investment.
Yep, and you get a match. So here's the deal. 16% is an amazing investment.
It is. I agree.
So there's a couple routes that we could go. Number one is what should your philosophy be as it relates to investing money? What do you actually want to create? Because there's one thing to earn a percentage and you're going to grow. And let's just say you have $1 million in your 401k. I'm going to do something very extreme to prove a point. Let's say you have $1 million in your 401k. So you truck it. You have $1 million in your 401k. What kind of income does that give you at the end at 65, let's just say?
Well, if it grows at 16 or 15%, I mean, that's pretty good. That's what 15% is what 150 grand a year, right?
Yeah. Are you familiar with the 4% rule?
No.
Okay. So the big, and Dave Ramsey makes the same mistake. So and he's bald as well. So we can't be using the same, like, if this grows 16%, when you're looking at distribution, the rules that help you get to the top, like, we got to totally rethink our thinking. And when there's this thing called dollar cost averaging, which means if the market goes down and you put money in, you're actually buying things at a discount. But it's called reverse dollar cost averaging if it works against you. Okay. When you're taking money out, you got to be like, you can't be taking out, large lump sums, or you're just going to run out of money, which could be fine. You could be like, hey, I just want this for 10 years kind of deal, and we just spend it up. The 4% rule is essentially what the typical financial advice is for advisors. Like, if you talk to your 401 guy person and you're like, hey, what should I take out? Like, what's a distribution rate that I can take out? He would say around 4%. What that means is you take 4% of your nest egg and you have about a 99% chance of not running out of money in 30 years. You're healthy. Okay? So if you do that, and the point that I'm making is a lot of people see the 16%, but they don't actually know, like, what the end goal is. Okay. You put your money in a 401k, the end goal is for you to take that money out. Now, if you do proper planning, let's just say you can get 5 or 6%. Okay? You do proper planning, you're connected with people like us. It's like, hey, we can take your stock assets and we can figure out a way where we could potentially get 5 to 6% without having risk of running out of money. Okay? So, but still, if you do that, the math, that's a $60,000, and that's taxable. What are tax rates going to be in 25 years?
Terrible. Well, maybe, my guess.
Maybe the same. I don't know. But
I think they'll go up.
But the point is like, okay, $1 million, dude. $1 million in your 401k produces what? Maybe 65,000. That's taxable. Now I did this for the shock effect, but I took your $170,000 salary. Do you know what you need to make if at a 3% inflation rate? Do you know what you need to make at 65 to keep up with what you're currently, what feels like 170 right now?
I don't.
Guess.
My guess, when I'm 65, 25 years from now, approximately,
Yep.
I'm guessing it's going to need to be damn near double that. It's going to need to be probably $300K, is my guess.
$505,000.
Oh my gosh, I was off. Wow. Okay. That sounds like a lot.
Here's my point. I'm not anti 401ks.
Yeah.
I'm not anti the market. I think depending on who you're talking to, like you got a good situation. I would say almost for everybody, invest up into the match, let it do its thing, because who knows what the future is going to hold. And it's like, I actually interviewed last week the person that came up with the 401k. His name's
really?
Ted Bennett. He's amazing.
Oh.
Okay. And we talked, and we don't agree on everything, but I love his perspective. And you know what he told me? One of the best things that the 401k has is that people can't access their money.
Right.
And I'm like,
Keeps
it's
them
so
from
funny
doing
because that's
something
so true.
Yeah.
90% of people should not touch their money because they're going to spend it.
Yep.
They're going to spend it. And by the way, you don't save that much money. Okay, so that's a potential thing that we're also going to talk about.
Yep.
So there's a world where you could spend it. You could spend it on nice food and be like, hey, this is experiences. And so I am empathetic to that. But that's just shocking to me. And so I feel like everyone's just kind of like on the Titanic and just kind of like rearranging the furniture and like, oh, you should do this. And at the end of the day, I'm looking at the math and I'm going like, we're nowhere near. Like $1 million in your 401k doesn't actually produce the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
And it's pretty depressing when you start looking at like, okay, how long, I mean, let's actually do this because I'm super curious. You have and we're just going to assume 12%. I hate the whole 12% after all the things. I don't think that's super accurate over the next 25 years, but we're just going to do it. So you have $55,000 in present value in your 401k. We are going to assume that you're putting in right now. Let's say you put in the match. So how much are you putting in if you just put up to the match?
Put up to the match. See, and that's the thing that I'm confused on that. I've always been confused on a match with a 401k. It's like, and I may be a little off here on my numbers, but I want to say it's like 4% up to like it. I don't know how to explain it, Caleb. I don't know how the 401k fully works. I do know there is a match, but I don't know exactly what that match is. I can here, in fact.
But how much are you putting in?
Right now, only 3%.
Okay, and how much is that?
3%. Let me double check. I'm pulling it up right now. There it is. It's just 3% of whatever I make, and what I make, fluctuates every pay period because I do sales,
so
obviously.
Just give me a number. Let's say
like
$5,000
over the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy.
Okay, so I'm gonna put $10K in because they're matching.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna put $10K in a year, $55,000. Okay, your future value over 25 years is $2.2 million. Okay, it's amazing. That's at 5%. That's $100,000. Okay, now couple things. Thing number one is, are we going to get 12% every single year?
No.
That's the biggest. Everyone does these financial calculators, and you can make something look amazing at 12%. Why does the Dow bar say that the average investor over the same run where someone averaged 12% gets 4%? Well, lots of things, fees, emotions, all that.
Yeah.
There's going to be years of good. So let's just do 12% because let's just do it. Okay. Over 25 years, it's 2.2 million. So that's path number one. Path number one is you do some other side investments at 65 years old. You have, let's say, a portfolio of $3 million because you're investing in other things. And we're just going to assume that the next 25 years, no crazy dips, no drops. You see in my book, when you make 100% and then you lose 50, it's like you average 25%, but you actually gain 0. We're not going to, we understand that. But like, let's say you got $3 million at 65.
Okay.
Incredible. Is that actually give you the life that you want?
No, not yet. Does not. Especially not, have the way I have to have a kid in there somewhere, need to make a baby in there somewhere. And that's going to be, 6 figures there just for that. So no, it still doesn't quite give what I want. No.
So the point that I'm making, and this, I've never done this before to like actually play devil's advocate against what I usually teach, but like let's just assume 12%. Let's assume that you're putting $10,000 in. We're assuming the match. We're assuming that you never lose. I started off with $55,000. Like painting the scenario, we have 2.2 million. Math is math. That's incredible. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, that's the scenario that when people say, you know, what you should do, like their scenario is retirement.
Yep.
Okay, so now let's talk about what you want to do, because I see somebody that has so much to give, and there's something deep inside in you that you really, really needs to come alive. And it has come alive. But like, I really believe that these next 5-10 years, there's a world, dude, that you could make what I just said, which is a large number, millions of dollars. I know people that make that in 2 years.
Yep. I think you're not wrong. And to be candid, or to be naked with you here, the further I get away from my drug addiction and being homeless, the better and better I'm getting. My brain becomes more active and my emotional state becomes better on a daily basis. My buddy Joe that got me hired on with the company that I currently work with now, he will tell you the guy he is right now versus the guy he was 4 or 5 years ago is night and day. I've improved all the time. And what you're telling me right now is something my wife tells me all the time. She's like, if we can get you in the right situation, we can make millions of dollars off of you. We just have to get you in the right situation and figure out what the right situation is. And I'm almost like, I hate to like compare myself to other people, but I'm almost like, you know, someone who almost need like a manager, almost like someone who's really good athlete, but doesn't know what sport to get into or whatever.
I'll tell you a potential problem I see right now. Let's say you had the most amazing ability to like double your money tomorrow. You don't, but you needed the money end of day. You got, what are you, 10K?
Yeah.
Have you heard of the golden rule?
He who has the gold makes the rules.
So my whole thing is, the thing that I think it keeps so many people back is everyone's freaking out. I want to compound all my money, but you're compounding all your money, and at the same time, you're transferring a little bit of control.
Wealth transfer as well in there.
But you're just giving up control.
Okay.
And so for some people, that's great. People got to realize I'm speaking to you.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to Ty. I'm not speaking to them. But I'm seeing somebody who even if you had an amazing opportunity, you could only say yes up to a certain amount.
You're right.
And that is fundamentally a problem for me, because if you're going to start certain things, there's going to be volatility, there's going to be setbacks, and you can't be 1 or 2 months away from being wiped out. Like right now, currently, you shouldn't take any big risk because you're not financially in a place to be able to say yes to that. But imagine if you had a year's worth in a high yield savings account. Just hear me out. Let's imagine you had a year's worth of money to pay for your mortgage and pay for your food and all in a high yield savings account. People would say, "Oh, you could earn 16% in your 401k or 12% in your 401k." Great, but just hear me out.
Yeah.
That money is sitting there. That allows you to potentially double your income. But the journey of doubling your income, you might have to take some volatility. You might be making less in the short term because you're figuring out how to increase your income. What's the ROI of the boring old savings account?
Nothing whatsoever, pretty much.
It's injured, but it allowed you to have a way greater rate of return when you actually measure it than what your 401k or compounding account would ever give you.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
You mean from a high yield savings account?
Yeah, so
right?
I'm saying, like, let's just say I know high yield savings accounts are giving high interest rate right now, but let's just say you had a year's worth of reserve in an account earning 0, but that allowed you to go double your income. So we would say you're dumb. You should have your money invested because you're losing your money to interest or your inflation. And I would say that's giving you the permission. That's giving you the permission to take risks, take opportunities, and say yes to certain things.
Yep.
So the simple framework, and I'll actually this will be cool. I'm gonna show.
See, and this is part of why I was thinking about cashing out my 401k and turning it into a cash value whole life policy with a mutual owned company that pays dividends, because then I have control over my money.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give you. I'm not gonna give you what you should do, right?
Okay.
My point is this picture at the bottom. You see this opportunity emergency.
Yep.
Okay. So emergency. Why is an emergency fund important? It's important because we want to make sure that we're never taken out of being able to show up powerfully.
Yeah.
Okay. So I personally in my business have an emergency fund that if we have a bad month or bad 2 months or if something happens, like we can weather the storm. Okay. That allows me to make moves. That allows me to build studios. That allows me to travel. That allows me to speak. That allows me to play the long game. This is an example of long game that's going to pay dividends in the future, but I'm only able to do that because we're financially secure.
Yep.
If I was worried about next week's payroll, I would not be talking to you right now presently. Does that make sense?
It does.
So emergency fund allows me to show up more powerfully. Okay. Up and above that. So whatever that is for you, we'll make up a number at the end of this, but let's say you have your emergency fund to say, hey, this is something like if everything burns down to the ground, I got this. It allows me to, like, we can start over. And I might have to take humble pie, but I'm good. Everything and above that is what you should think of as like an opportunity fund. Think about your own personal wealth as like a fund. Okay. Everything on above that, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, 200, $300,000 in your opportunity fund. That opportunity fund invests in the things that cash flow, but ultimately help you live a more intentional life. Ultimately, the things that are going to be the most fulfilling. For you, it's how do you double your income? What is the fastest way to double your income? Yeah. You figured those out. You may list, it could be make a product, Facebook's, YouTube, find higher value things to sell. You make a list. And then you have your time, which is great. You're healthy. You have your relationships. You have your money that's starting to build up in your opportunity fund. And you have your skill set. And then it's all about how you're going to use that. And the opportunity fund should literally be deployed to the thing that's going to help you get to closest to where you want to go in life. I know this sounds fluffy, but it literally could be the opportunity fund could literally be a plane ticket to come to Tennessee to get clarity. Yep. Because the value of, and you get it, because you like what's the value of clarity? It could be a ticket to go to an event to meet a person that you could be doing business with. It could be investing in real estate. It could be investing in your 401k. Yep. You get what I'm saying? It's like there are different energies when I say that. Mm-hmm. Now, for you, I want to maximize active cash flow first before we talk about passive. I know that's not popular to say, but when I'm talking to someone who's got a lot to give, how do we maximize active cash flow? And then when you can then say, Caleb, I'm maximizing my ability to earn money. Now I got to figure out how to get my money to work for me. Then we can talk all day long about real estate or other things. But I find people try to invest way too early, and they're literally giving a fraction of what they could give to the market. Huh. I think that's a mistake you can make. Is I see that you have Bitcoin. I see that you want to do some real estate, faceless YouTube. Great. But I see someone who's like going to be distracted with a couple really good opportunities and never really lean into what they really need to do. And I would look at, as an investment, as weird as it is, I would look at you as your greatest investment. And I would look at the money that I would be putting in the market. And it's like, should 20% or invest in Ty? If you were an investment, and just think about this, if I could invest in you, if I could own 10% of your ability, number one, how much would you sell 10% of Ty? And number two, if I believed in you, would I invest in you or a 20% rate of return? I would invest in you.
You invest in me, for sure.
Can you imagine what 10% of like my lifetime earning is going to be?
A lot.
Why would I invest in other people's businesses before I maximize mine?
True story. Good point.
So I think it's just one of the things that just becomes really real to me is you're a perfect example of 401k is in great shape. I'm not telling you to cash that out. I'm telling you to get really crystal clear about what inputs, how do you up-level your inputs to create an output, service or product that creates active income that gets you to a place where you can start like you crush your goals and you don't invest in anything quote unquote passive until you maximize you.
Yeah. I don't disagree with what you're saying. You're correct about everything you're saying right now. It's essentially because I've come to discover that I'm very good at sales and very good at generating 5-star reviews. I feel like the most efficient way to further monetize myself is to get those skills to the right place where they can make me more money. And so, like you said, either selling higher ticket items, selling other things, I've got to explore those options and figure out what's available for me.
Next thing that I see is income, your savings. Next thing I see is your savings. So how much do you save? How much do you save a year? And I'm not talking like save into a savings account and then spend. Like how much money are you committed to saving for your future? Because the only money that I see that you're currently like saving is in your 401k, and that's not considered saving to me. That's investing. But is that so? Are we talking like how much money are you actually saving with you and your wife?
Honestly, not a ton. I would say like that we only have about 10 grand in savings right now. And we kind of have that set to the side. That's almost like the emergency fund, our savings like our emergency fund. If something goes wrong or whatever, that's where we're going to dip into to correct whatever problem might arise, Yep. I could commit to saving more money, and that's what I'm doing this year.
Okay.
Is this year I've adjusted taxes appropriately to where I'll have not a lot taken out because I intend to offset that towards the end of the year by probably buying a rental property. But the goal this year is just save. I intend to save at least probably 30% of my income is the goal, because as you can see on the financials there, we don't have much in the way of bills.
Yep.
And so I have the ability to save a couple $1,000s every month.
Where's your money going right now?
Primarily to the mortgage, and then food. Like there's too many expenses: mortgage, food, and obviously we have cell phones, power bill, stuff like that.
Yep.
But I would say the mortgage and eating high quality food is where most of my money goes. But I could easily save $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Okay. So let's So when you say $3,000, that was a big commitment, dude. $3,000. You said it on live. So we're talking, was that 36,000?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we're gonna talk about this with no product in mind, and then we could talk about products at the end if you want. But like, let's say you save $36,000 a year. Okay. What do you think should really be in your emergency fund to really put you at ease? Because 10,000.
It's not enough.
Not enough.
I would honestly, to me, I feel like I need 50K in there to where I feel comfortable.
Okay.
To where I have 50K in emergency fund.
Okay. All right. So that's not going to happen overnight.
Nope.
But we could get there. Well, you got 50K in your 401k.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? Okay. So you got 50K ish in your 401k. Now we know if you take that out and all that stuff, like that's going to be.
Oh, it's going to get knocked down quite a bit.
But there's a world. Just hear me out here. You probably have a 401k loan, right?
I can get one. I don't yet, but I can get one.
There's a world where, you don't cash out all your 401k. There's a world where you keep your 401k cruising. You maybe don't contribute anything more to it. You maybe just reach to your match. But you know that if you ever need to tap into that, it's there. Now, the risk of that is it did 16% this year. If everything hits the fan, there's a potential good chance that other people, like that's in 2008 when people had to tap into their 401k as an emergency fund. It wasn't a hot deal. The point that I'm making is there's a world where you can look at your 401k as your emergency fund, monitor it, and let it ride. Don't freak out when it goes down. I prefer my emergency fund in say like high yield savings accounts and life insurance is where my emergency fund is. I have a year's worth of reserve personally and pretty much business wise where it's there because I just feel I function better in business and I function better personally just knowing that, and then I'm able to like make moves and make a pretty great rate of return, and I include the dead cash that's only earning in my life insurance policy that could potentially be invested. It's just from because I'm taking more risk because I am my greatest asset. So again, I'm not going to tell you on this podcast to cash out your 401k, but I do highlight those and say, okay, that potentially is your emergency fund right now, and so that's interesting. But you have to be smart from a tax perspective. So this is the last thing I'll say: if you figure out a way to offset taxes in an amazing way, because you follow great people like Carlton Dennis and Tom Wheelwright and others, there's a world where if there's a year that you have a good tax, quote unquote, benefit, there's a world where you may decide to cash out some of your 401k. Just taking it all out with no game plan right now, probably not smart.
I would agree with you. The thing that bugs me, though, about the 401k being essentially, like you said, my emergency fund, is if I need that money now,
I agree.
I can't get it now.
I agree.
I have to go through underwriting to get a loan. I have to go through withdrawal process and so on. And that's why the idea of a high yield savings or a cash value life policy seems a hell of a lot better, because I can access that money now. and efficiency, as you cover in your book, it's a big deal, man. Like if you can't get to your money, what's the point?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple routes. You can just leave it in and know that in retirement, let's look at the financial calculator. If you don't add anything to it and you earn 12%, which you won't every year, you'll have just under $1 million, $935,000. There will be people screaming their heads off if I told you to cash it out. If I were you and I had something that I wanted to finance and I was really clear that this thing I could double my money potentially, I think you'd be an idiot not to use that money, even if that means cashing out.
Totally
and agree. You just got to know that there's going to be penalties, there's going to be taxes, and don't you dare spend this money because you know what I'm saying? It's a slippery slope when you start, it's a not just invest in the thing that's going to move the needle, which is you. Okay. So that's something I observed. The cool thing is currently what you're making currently, you can put $3,000 away. The beautiful thing is as you make more money, we need to have a commitment of saving more, saving more. If you can commit to saving 30%, my man, and as you continue to make, and you can just put that money aside, again, taxes are a real thing. So when you start adding taxes and say you got to be realistic. Yeah. But if you can start increasing or keeping your savings rate as you make more money and continuing to save, and again, if we have an emergency fund, if $50,000 is the number, we get to that $50,000. And then once you hit that 50,000, then it gets gravy because everything and above is now opportunity. And now you're building your ability to hey, I'm going to make a move. I'm going to invest here. I'm going to invest in this program. I'm going to make a digital course. I'm going to buy a camera. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All comes from the opportunity. Now here's the deal. Every opportunity that you do is looked at as an investment. And the thing and how we measure investments are cash flow. Yep. I put in $1,000 into this activity. What is that resulting in? This is a perfect example. I'm not going to print out cash flow for you today, but you should be able to measure what time and money, our time together, ultimately what shifted. It's tough, but in a business, you have to look at your business and say, if Caleb was investing in my business, what would the balance sheet and cash flow statement look like? And I'm telling you, majority of people are unable to say yes because all their money's tied up in things that are doing amazing, but they have no idea what the future is going to look like, and it's allowing them to not show up powerfully today. Yeah,
I agree with what you're saying there as well. That's why I kind of want to get my money into a more liquid vehicle. I think a liquid vehicle is a better way to go, but it's something that I'll have to talk with the wife and kind of get a little direction there. Speaking with you is helping me quite a bit right now. You're making some lights go off in my brain for sure.
What I would do is create a business plan before you do anything with your 401k and figure out what is the goal with the money. Because if you're just going to quote unquote cash it out, just make yourself feel good. It's listen, you do have $10K in the bank. I don't know you should look and see how hard it is to get a 401k loan and all that stuff. You should do your due diligence. Yeah. But I'm telling you, we live in a world where I would hate for that 55K to literally be compounding, but they have golden handcuffs. And golden handcuffs are essentially hey, we're going to keep you comfortable so that you don't actually make the move. But playing devil's advocate, man, there's lots of people that the last thing that they should do is cash out their 401k or touch their 401k because it's going to result in worst case scenario or it's going to result in them having less money in the future. I just don't think that's the case for you because you got a why, you got a vision, and you're making good money. But I see someone that's willing to put in the work and figure out how you increase that. And when you start looking at 20% of 100,000 is $20,000. You have half of that, so do the math. So if you earn 20% in your 401k, we're going to earn, what is that, 10K? There's a potentially where 55K, now you're going to have less, 35K with Ty potentially could earn more than 10K. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So it's not financial advice. Right?
Yeah, I know. Okay. We're just talking. Don't sue us.
Yeah. Any questions on that? Because it's next thing we'll go into is life insurance. But any questions on the 401k?
No, I've never really I would have to have you look at these financials a bit further though. I need to actually just talk to somebody from that company because I don't even know exactly how my company's match works. Okay. And now being on the show with you, that feels kind of embarrassing to admit that out loud. But I would contest most people, they don't really know how their 401k works. If I directly ask them, explain to me how your match on your 401k actually works and how much money is actually going on there, they can't explain it, and neither can I.
Yep.
And so this has sparked me to, I'm going to have a conversation with these guys with the 401k company sometime next week, and just point blank them and be like, make me understand how this match works.
Yep.
And so I can make a logical or informed decision from there, I should say.
Yep. Nothing when it comes to liabilities that are like nothing that we really need to talk about. Keep paying off your unpaid balance, and your mortgage is super efficient, under 4%. There's people that have way better credit than you that are jealous.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're good.
I got in at the last minute.
Yeah, just keep doing your thing. You don't really have a ton of equity. I was looking, like, it doesn't make sense to do a home equity right now. You don't have enough.
Yeah.
But like that is something, as interest rates come down, as your house value goes up, that's something that I would be interested in tapping into. What would
Absolutely.
What would a HELOC look like? But keep your 4% loan is an amazing hedge in your current portfolio right now.
Okay.
So love that.
Cool.
And okay, let's talk about life insurance. Let's just say for greater purposes, you and your wife don't have life insurance.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay.
Close enough.
Let's talk about life insurance from the insurance factor. I'm not talking about like and asset overfunded whole life insurance. I'm talking life insurance in general. Do you what questions do you have? Because I definitely think everyone should have life insurance, but I probably maybe no one has shared with you why.
Well, I mean, the death benefit's obviously the main thing to take care of your loved ones after you go. For me, I was more interested in a cash value policy because I'm not really so concerned about a death benefit right now, as I don't have a kid yet.
Yep.
And my wife can take care of herself, although I'd hate to do that to her. I'd love to leave her with a bunch of money.
You don't
if
want
possible.
her remarrying.
No, not at all. We don't want that.
So here's what I'd say, and this is just an interesting way to think about life insurance: is we insure our cars, we insure our homes, we insure our businesses. Okay, you are making currently $120,000, and you're going to continue to make more money. If I unemotionally look at you on a balance sheet, you don't show up, but you should. And so the point that I just want to make is it should be, if you have ultimate why that you want in your life, and I'm sure there's bigger reasons to why you want to get like all that stuff. It's like, regardless of what happens, if you die or live, wouldn't it be cool if your life actually showed up about you're going to create it with whether you live. Why in the world would dying take you away from creating that? Yeah. It's just something to think about. So like, for example, let's just say I have $10 million on my life, just hypothetically. Okay. It's like, I think I'm going to make a lot more, but the insurance company won't give me more. Okay. It's just hypothetically. So I'm going to continue to, the more money I continue to be able to make, that means my ability, my life is valuable, regardless of my wife and kids and all that stuff. Like, that's a great conversation, but it's like, I want to insure my greatest asset, which is myself. And I'm literally just protecting what is going to happen if I live.
I never thought of it that way until I saw your content, man. Your content is what made me think of it that way. When you're like, you insure, I saw a video with you before where you broke down, you insure your car, your house, this and that and the other, but you don't insure yourself, and you're your best asset. And I agree with you. You're right. And that's what kind of led me down the road of like looking at more life insurance. And then as I'm not so focused on the death benefit, I kind of steer more towards a cash value one, so I can use that now.
Yep.
And then that's got a death benefit down the road though as well. And so I kind of view that as kind of the best of both worlds. Yep. The last thing I'd want to do, honestly, is like a term life insurance policy. Like my wife's mom, she did a term life insurance policy that just lapsed. I don't want to say lapsed, but just ended recently. Yep. The term ended. Yep. And now for her to get another term policy, it's stupidly expensive now because she's like 75. And so now she's not going to do it.
Done. I mean,
so she paid the life insurance company for 20 years or whatever, and they get to walk off good to go. And now there's no death benefit for her daughter, who is my wife, you know?
Yep. And that's a classic example of term insurance is an expense that you hopefully never have to cash in on, because that means you probably died prematurely. But ironically, you'll probably get term insurance. Just hear me out here. So let's go back to disability, because that's the same concept. For you, with where you're at, I think it potentially is worth looking at quotes, and I'll potentially connect you with somebody. But it's the same concept of like, okay, I have income. Why wouldn't I insure my income? Now, where it gets interesting is your background, your history, being homeless, drugs. Like, there's a chance, dude, you're not going to be able to get life insurance or disability. We're going to have to be creative. I don't know, but that should share with the listener. Like, like that's why not everyone gets to benefit in the whole life insurance concept. And we'll see. There's a lot of people that are smarter than me on our team that can figure out underwriting and all that stuff. But there's certain people that would look at you on paper. We might have to send them this interview and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And that's just unfortunate because they just value someone on a piece of paper and what they're seeing in medical records and kind of deal.
Yep.
Point that I'm making is if we can qualify, I think the first thing is we need to ask how much life insurance can we actually get? How much insurance would they actually give us? Because insurance companies don't want us to get rich off of killing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So there can't be any incentive. And so what they'll usually do is they'll usually give you like 25 to 30 times your income, which is over $3 million.
Yep.
Okay. So hypothetically, the value of your life, $3 million. I think it's a lot more for the record, but on
I think
paper,
so too.
$3 million.
On paper.
So the question is, there's no way at all that even if we did a whole life insurance front load, we could get $3 million of life insurance if we wanted to optimize it for cash. So one of the things that I would look into is convertible term. And what convertible term is you get cheap term insurance that is an expense. You lock in your insurability. You lock in your $3 million of life insurance. And then the moment you want the master account, the and asset, the overfunded, you can take a chunk of that and convert it to overfunded life insurance, which is, again, all we teach when it comes to overfunded life insurance is a better place to store and use your money. It's just an efficient place to store.
Not an investment.
It's not an investment. So, but life insurance itself is super, super important. So yeah, it might be an expense. It might be like, yeah, this could be 1 or 2% of like my income, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but we're building the foundation, and one of the first things is we're putting a value which changes the way you show up. You're like, man, I'm gonna make more than $3 million in my lifetime, but I'm literally valued on a balance sheet that if something ever happens to me, like there's gonna be $3 million that's gonna get sent to our estate to where you want. Like, how cool is that?
It is.
And as you make more money and you understand the power of storing and using your money, you can convert that without any health tests, without anything, and then boom, we can have early cash value that can essentially be your emergency and opportunity. So one of the things that I think is going to be just a no-brainer is for us to start that process for you and your wife, because your wife doesn't have any. Who knows what the future holds about storing and using money? I don't feel good at this point saying cash out your 401k and put it into life insurance. But there may be a world where it's like, hey, you're starting to save $36,000. You should save that starting in a savings account. But there's a world where it's like, okay, long term, where should this money be stored? Life insurance has so many more benefits than a high yield savings account for the long term and gives you almost as much liquidity. Yep. And so we could use that, but that might be a year or two from now.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, high yield savings account, convertible term insurance, and stop max funding your 401k and potentially learn more information. And what we may want to do with your 401k, you can make this decision. You can either keep it where it's at, or you can cash it out, realize the penalties, put it into a high yield savings account with the idea of opportunity emergency. Emergency is building the 50,000. Everything and above is an investment in Ty and Ty initiatives. And I believe that I'm going to earn more than 10, 20, because the nut is really, can you earn more than 10,000?
Yep.
I think the answer is yes.
I think the answer is yes.
And that's a good week on the job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all that to say, like, I think it's actually I try to simplify everything, and I think the emergency opportunity is a very good framework for you. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like if the next 5 years you just accumulated money and you're constantly be thinking, where should I invest this? Yeah. Convertible term, there's no rush to get whole life insurance, but let's get you and your wife life insurance, like term insurance that gives you a convertible option. Yes, there's going to be some expense, but it literally locks insurance in on your lives and gives you options. And again, dude, I don't know if you're going to be able to qualify health-wise. Maybe we get it on your wife, but you should at least try just to see, like, can I get life insurance? Because if you can't, that is a major bummer. Yeah. Now, I do believe that there are lots of options that we can do, but I'm just like, I want the listener or the person watching this to know the value of being able to get life insurance, because not everyone can.
No, you're right. And I was a little bit concerned about that as well. I talked to a guy about doing a life insurance policy before meeting with you, and it didn't feel right, so I didn't do it. But through that conversation, it made me kind of realize that, crap, I don't know how insurable I am in that regard. Yep. Like, I know all my wife's markers for good health are like very, very good. So I know she'd be probably perfectly fine there. And I think in general, women are a bit more insurable than men. We tend to do more dumb stuff. We die younger.
Yep.
So I would probably get a policy on her first to see how that looks. But then for me, like my blood pressure is a little on the high side,
Yep.
you know, and I know that might put me at like what's called maybe a table rate.
I mean, I think at this point, the cool thing is we can go through an underwriting process, and you don't have to pay anything, and you can just see if you qualify or not. So it's like, it's just one of those things where it's just like, man, this is a huge gap. And in the disability side, we can go through the process, and you might decide, hey, I'm not going to go that route, or it might not make sense. I would recommend everyone at least know what it would look like to insure certain blocks of your income. Because again, we don't think we're going to like trip on the sidewalk. No. But a lot of disability comes from chronic illness. Okay. We all know somebody that got cancer prematurely. We all know those. And listen, I want to be like, we live in a time where I'm less concerned about DI for people that can speak. You know, if you're a doctor, if you're certain people that use your hands and you're making high income, vital. Yeah. For other like people, even like myself, you could make the argument that I don't need disability because I could freaking be bedridden and I would still be creating value. Yeah. So it just depends on like how we're gonna define disabled.
Disabled, and how you create your value.
Right. So I want to be as fair and balanced as possible. I know there's people that sell disability insurance that hate me right now, but I just like.
Is there a world where you can do a term policy that has disability in there as well?
There's a world. So life insurance policies that we work with have what's called accelerated benefit riders, chronic illness riders. What that essentially does is some people buy long-term care, and they essentially say, hey, when I get old and I need to go into a nurse, and I need help, it can be very, very expensive to pay for the cost of that. Yeah. What a lot of life insurance policies will allow you to be able to do is spend on your death benefit while you're alive if you trigger certain activities, of that. And so the answer to your question is no, there usually is not, when it comes to life insurance, any like disability rider. There is what's called a waiver of premium, that if you have a whole life insurance policy that you're funding and you get disabled, the company will fund for you. No one's going to do that on your 401k or Roth IRA. So there's a world where that happens, and that's another thing that we could talk about, because it's like, hey, maybe you don't do DI, but maybe you add this rider, and rider ensures that this insurance company is going to fund on your behalf. Now, it's less efficient for the cash value in the first, because obviously you're adding a cost, but there's a benefit to it. And so there's all these things.
Question, when you say DI, what's DI?
Disability income insurance.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. That's kind of what I thought. Just wanted to double check. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. So so any questions on, I think going through the convertible term process is a no-brainer. I think getting a quote for disability income insurance is just important for your due diligence. Just in case. Yeah. But there may be a world where there's some things that we can do on the life insurance side that can accomplish the emergency fund, opportunity fund, and insure your greatest asset.
Yeah, and we can talk about more about that offline later, maybe as well.
Yep. Okay. So now let's talk about estate plans. What does your company offer when it comes to estate plan? Like,
for our customers?
Yeah.
So we do revocable living trusts is the main thing that we do.
Okay.
And then we set up, a will, a power of attorney with that, quick claim deeds, guarantor deeds, like just the appropriate documentation to get your estate set up properly. Cool. And we do this through a law firm, of course, that we're partnered with. Cool. And like we sell the service to people over the phone, and then they contact the law firm, and the law firm does all the structuring documents and everything for them.
I would work through them or something very simple. I mean, I don't need to tell you the pro, but just get something in place. It's the same concept of things will, from an energy standpoint, changes when you have your ducks in a row. You're
right, man. When the ducks are in a row, when the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, everything does change from an energy perspective, because you have a subconscious feeling of security. Yep. You're not even actively feeling it, but it's there underneath, and that causes, as you say, to show up more powerfully. That's another thing you say that I like.
Yep. All right, so what other questions do you have? I mean, we talked about earning income and what creates value and leverage, and I think there's something there. We talked about your assets in 401k. There's not much. I mean, good job on your liabilities. Like, be where you are, your backstory, and not have crazy debt. Congratulations. That's incredible. You've committed on air to save at least $36,000, and that's going to increase. Actually, let's do it. What is, so you guys right now say or make about 170, and if 36,000 divided by 170, it's 21%. Okay. So as you make more money, 21%, and on, so maybe 20% because we like round numbers.
That's kind of where I was in my brain is I think I'm going to save about 20%.
20%, but as you make more money, dude,
Yeah.
don't steal from yourself.
No, keep doing the 20%.
And let's not get super cute. The moment that you're like, hey, my business, my income is like, I'm happy, then we could start all day long about where you should be making money passively.
Yeah.
Before that, discipline of just doubling down on Ty.
Okay.
And what you and your wife have in store and how you guys can co-create value together.
Okay. Because the goal for me is to get her to working at least part-time probably this time next year, but without our overall household income going down.
Yep.
So I'm trying this year to figure out a way to replace her income for the most part. That's why I'm trying the YouTube channel. That's why I'm looking at maybe doing a real estate investment later on this year. But it's you're not wrong though about what you're saying.
This is something that I've never done, so be patient with me. But let's talk about how you're gonna know when you can afford your kid.
Yeah, that's a good question, man.
So let me talk to you about. Let me just verbal process this because I'm not gonna say that I have the answer. So we talk about emergency and opportunity. Emergency opportunity. We talked about $50,000. Now, obviously, the $50,000 increases the more responsibilities you have. But let's keep it at 50 for now. There's really two routes that we could go. Route number one is you could just create a tax on yourself. You could say, I'm gonna include an additional 10% or 5% of all my earnings, and it's just gonna go into an account. Could be in the same, but you need to separate it. Could be in your life insurance, but it needs to be separated from what's available to Ty for Ty to use.
Okay.
And you could create a tax on yourself and just create aside the envelope system. Yep. Okay. And the more money you make, it's obviously going to accelerate. 5% on 5 million is not an issue. That's step number one. Step number two could be you separate active income versus investment income. What do I mean by that? Active income is your skill set, your businesses, you're making money.
Yep.
You're saving into your opportunity fund. Your opportunity fund is investing in yourself or investing in other activities, and you're taking a percentage of the what's made through your quote unquote investments. Since you're going to be doing a lot of active income right now, your investments are going to increase your ability to earn more actively. Mm-hmm. I would create a percentage, a tax that I would just set aside, and the more money you make through just all these different initiatives, just know that money's going to go. And if that makes sense. So it's right now, if we did 10%, it would be $17,000. Mm-hmm. Okay? But as you continue to make more money, it could increase. And we got, what do you think the window is? 5 years?
Yeah, I think 5-year window is a good estimation, man. I think that's probably accurate. And so essentially, I need to figure out within the next 4 to 5 years of how to have approximately $100,000 to $200,000 in capital around so that I can fund having my own kid.
Yep. And there is a math would tell you don't stop, right? But I'm telling you as a brother, anything up and above emergency fund, it's who am I going to tell you to double down on business and other things if you lose the one thing that you truly want? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you there for sure.
The point that I'm making is, let's say 3 years from now, you're crushing it. You got $60,000 in your emergency fund and $200,000 and up above that. You could reinvest in businesses, or you could decide, you know what? I'm going to go back to, I have my emergency fund. And mathematically, this is stupid because having kids doesn't make sense mathematically.
No, it doesn't.
But I'm gonna make a decision that could cost me millions. But I'm gonna have someone with my last name.
Yeah, and that's kind of just knee-jerk reaction. Just talking to you right now, not thinking about it deeply. That's probably what I would do, man. I'm more focused on, I want to get to where we don't have to trade our time for money anymore, of course. But I'm more focused on having a kid. And I know for me, it's a financial thing.
Emergency fund. The discipline you need to promise me is you don't tap into the emergency fund for the kid, but everything on above that, you're growing so that and that's the goal. So we need $250,000.
Pretty much.
We need $250,000, and I'm sure the 200 is on the high end, and I'm sure part of that is not all at once.
Yep.
But the goal is, how do we have a quote unquote investment fund, $250,000? I think you start with a high yield savings account. The moment you hit that 50,000, I think it's a no-brainer to transfer that into a life insurance policy, like front load.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, like, let's milk the high yield savings account for now.
Okay.
And then when the time is right, you can fund a life insurance policy, and that can be like a storage place. But right now, I'm figuring out who, pain, solution, and I'm figuring out how do I leverage my skill set, how do I leverage my time, especially you got money but you don't have a ton, you have skill set and time, and that's what I would be betting on.
I agree with you. I need to figure out a way to monetize my skill set more. I need to sell, like you said earlier, higher ticket items. And there's an opportunity to do that at my work that I'll talk with you about a little bit more offline.
Okay.
There's a few complications there.
Cool.
But yeah, you're right, man. I need to figure out how to monetize myself further. And I appreciate you talking to me about this, man. I've made some notes here.
What other questions do you have? Anything's on the table.
Anything's on the table?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really had some questions about the cash value life insurance whole life to see if it's really something I want to get into or not. But after our conversation here, it sounds like it may be a better idea to start with the convertible term or high yield savings and convert the convertible term to whole life later on, or put money in the high yield savings and then do an overfunding of a cash value policy later on.
Yeah, where you focus your time, energy, like energy follows. And it's like, if I could invest energy right now into you, it would be on what we talked about, knowing that when you have a first world problem of like having a lot of money coming in, then we could talk about where it goes. Right now, you got 10K in the checking account.
Yep.
You have money that you got to figure out what you're going to do with the 401k. If that money's somewhat freed up, maybe it accelerates our conversation a little bit.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's like, I think a year from now or 2 years from now, we're in a good situation. And at the end of the day, we just talked about compound interest. Compound interest is awesome, but I just showed you 12% compounding, and it was like, okay. Like for you, it's like, I'm not going to be too concerned with the year's loss of compound interest in a savings vehicle. Does that make sense?
It does. I get what you're saying there. For me, the concept of not using my money and it growing and compounding all the time sounds amazing.
I understand.
And also the fact that to get to the money in my 401k is kind of a pain in the rear end. You got to do a loan, it has to be underwritten. You have to do withdrawals. There's got to be a reason for that and so on. Like
let me tell you this. Over 30 years, using your life insurance versus using your high yield savings account, there's a massive difference. Massive. It could be over $1 million difference. Yeah. Okay. But again, perspective, 1 year,
not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Okay. And so it's again like, hey, this is a main moneymaker for us. Okay. I'm a big fan of life insurance.
Yeah,
okay?
for sure.
I put a lot of money into life insurance, but it's not at the expense of other things. So the thing is like, yeah, we could talk about that all day long, but like, I want to make sure it's like, what is the purpose of these funds? And I think there's some velocity that needs to happen internally. And I want you to get life insurance, and I want to give you the option to convert. But if you got convertible term, what I would say to you is like, dude, you're locked in your insurability. Let's just let's wait a year or two, and then let's convert it when it really makes sense. Right now, it does make sense to me.
Okay. I appreciate the honesty there. And so in terms of other questions, I actually had a list of questions here, Caleb, and I think we've actually answered several of them so far through this. And then I don't know, there's certain questions that I don't know if are good for this show or not. Like, for example, I'm considering converting my primary residence to a rental.
Okay.
I've been considering doing that. My house is in kind of a primo spot in terms of rental. Like, I know if I turn it into an Airbnb, I'll have a super high occupancy rate. It's pretty much primo spot. The reason it was nearly $500,000 to get the house was because of the location, not necessarily because of the house. It's because where it's located. And so I'm pretty darn confident if I converted my primary residence to rental, we downsized, I'd be able to easily cover the mortgage with the Airbnb funds coming in. And then we can downsize and maybe just rent a place for a while. Or
what's rent? What could you rent a place at?
So I live in Reno, Nevada right now. Okay. We're getting, you may need to edit this, we're getting Californicated in Northern Nevada because all the California people are coming over because California is a hot mess, as everyone should know by now. And they're paying cash value. They're paying cash and overpaying for homes in the area where I live. And frankly, I almost did not get my house because of that. A cash buyer came in and way overpaid, then ended up falling through. I got a call from my realtor like, hey man, that deal fell through, you get it. And so I got kind of lucky when I got my home. So my area right now, it's $1,500 approximately for like a 1-bedroom place, We have 2 dogs, and so
Yeah.
we need like somewhat of a yard. And so I'm guessing it's probably gonna be about $2,000 if we start renting a place, is my guess.
But you're already paying almost $3,000.
Yeah, exactly. I'm paying 3 right now, and
What do
if
you think you could bring in a month?
I think I could bring in $4 or $5 a month off the home on Airbnb.
So here's the deal. The cool thing about Airbnb is if it goes disastrous, you have your home.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're willing to take a step back, do it.
Okay.
I mean, you're in a mode right now. What I love about Dave Ramsey is like he gets people to wake up. And it's like you need to be in a mood where it's like we gotta do everything we can to get savings to reinvest into
Yep.
So yeah, if it's a side gig right now, do it.
Okay.
I don't see much downside if you're willing to take the step backwards.
Yeah,
Which
and
a lot
it's-
of people aren't, by the way.
Well, it's something me and my wife have talked about, and she's like, I'm cool with taking a step back if it'll cash flow for us and make us more money.
Yep.
Because I think it would cash flow. Like I said, it's in a primo spot. I think it'll do very well in Airbnb.
Whatever your numbers are, multiply by 0.8.
By 0.8,
Yeah, just
just to play it safe.
play it safe, 80%, because it's like the last thing I want is rosy projections, and for the thing that you think is going to bring and just be a pain in your rear
Yeah.
when you could be making more money and over here. But like I'm a big fan of looking at every scenario, and like I love that you just committed to saving more. I'm not going to go through a budget with you. I know that you're good on your word, but like that's most people's biggest problem is they're not saving money. And so I love the fact that you could do that, but like in the grand scheme of things, what is that going to do for a year? Maybe bring in an additional 15, 20. That's great.
Yeah.
That's actually what you're currently saving your 401k right now. So it's like, that's awesome. And so I don't want to overstep that, but I just like don't want you. The thing that I think you're going to it's going to be a theme is you're going to get distracted. You're going to want to do other things. And there's a cost to saying yes. The cost is you're not able to say yes to the other thing that you should be saying yes to. There's value in saying no. So my point is, sure, do it. Just make sure that you're not walking over dollars to pick up pennies.
Right.
I
That's a good way to put it.
like this because it's like if you're willing to, if you were like, hey, we're going to, rent is going to be more than our mortgage, I'd be like, okay, there's red flags going off.
Yeah,
there.
that's a
but
problem.
you're literally like, hey, it's costing us $3,000 right now. What if we rented for $2,000 and we're really confident that location wise we could at least pay the mortgage, if not more?
Because that's how I feel.
If you just cover the mortgage, you're saving $900.
Exactly.
So
it's kind of worth it. So yeah, I think the
if you're
answer is
willing,
there.
if you're willing, and just the time frame, but yeah, that's my thoughts there.
I think we're willing. We just have to find the right situation. We don't want to move out to the boonies that's far away from our works or our jobs or whatever. Because the house is a primo location. But if I can find a similar, something less expensive that's not too far away, I think it's a move we'll probably end up making because it'll cash flow for us, I'm sure. And then, okay, so another thing too is with life insurance, can you have that, whether it's term, cash value, whole life, whatever it is, the payment for that, is it tax deductible and can it be direct withdrawal from my check?
The answer is no and yes.
Okay, so not tax deductible, but yes, it can be withdrawn from my check.
Yeah. So
okay, cool.
So it's not tax deductible. There's some cases that it can be, but then you lose a lot of the tax benefits on the back end.
Okay.
So it works very much like a Roth. Is you don't get money, you don't get tax benefits going in, but once in, it grows tax deferred.
Okay.
You can use it tax free, and it gets passed on income tax free.
Okay.
So the best way, and Carlton and other tax experts would agree with me on this. You want to do good tax planning. Permanently reduce your taxes as much as possible, and then transfer those into assets where you can control and grow and pass on as tax advantage as possible.
Yep.
Good tax planning and life insurance are a 1-2 punch, but life insurance, again, is the foundation. Tax planning is the offense.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's something I've been looking at a lot this year as a tax planning thing because like it's our biggest expense in life is the taxes that we pay.
Yep.
And like you say, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. And I fully agree with that. So I've been looking at tax planning, and I may try to get with Carlton or his team, or maybe you have a different resource for me here. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm into in a major way. Now, also, 401k loan through my 401k company, it looks like it's about 10%. Is that good, bad, indifferent? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, a life insurance loan, just for perspective, would be like 6 or 5 to 6%.
Okay.
So that's a classic example of like your money's in your life insurance, it's getting you all the benefits, and you get to access it a lot cheaper than any other place.
Okay.
And if you could get cheaper access to money other places, I would say go get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, 10% is not great.
Okay.
That's
That's
not
kind of how I felt too. It's not
but
very
but
good.
it's not terrible, but
Yeah.
it's you're making more this last year in it, but 10%'s not and I'm not thrilled about it, but it's not credit card kind of rates.
Yeah, I get that. Okay. Now, yeah, I think we've gone through all my questions, man. Yeah, and I'm looking for resources too here too. Like we kind of talked about that before we started up the cameras here. For tax strategy, hard money or private money lenders, because if I see a move I want to make and I don't have, like right now, I don't have the opportunity fund to do that, then maybe I find people who are willing to do private money lending or hard money lending.
So let's double tap here. So you want to do real estate. I know
I
that.
do.
Okay. I want you to I know there's tax benefits to it, and so I'm not going to like say don't do it. But if we didn't do real estate, you don't need money right now. Like with what's in your 401k, with what your commitment to save, and for where we are, like if I'm just looking at opportunities, like why would you do real estate if you could do other opportunities that could potentially crazy move the needle?
You're not wrong. And if I found an opportunity that could crazy move the needle, I'd be happy to go that direction.
You just don't know what that is.
I just don't know what that is. I don't know what that is at all.
But where you spend your time and like that's the thing is like, are you just going to be like, oh, there's no opportunities? Or are you going to like find the opportunities?
So I'm trying to find opportunities. That's why I'm starting the YouTube channel. Hopefully that will cash flow here within a month or two. I'll start making some money there. That's also why I've been studying so much like tax-free wealth, tax and legal playbook, following a lot of Carlton Dennis's content. And that's what's leading me to realize that I'm getting hammered on taxes when you make over 100 grand a year and you don't have kids. I get hammered on taxes. And so I want to figure out a way to offset those taxes. And it seems like real estate's the way to go. And I don't know how else I don't know what's going to move the needle more in my favor rather than offsetting taxes. Like if I make 120 grand over this next year, I'm probably going to get hit with, I'm probably going to lose $30,000 approximately of that to taxes. Okay. So is there an investment opportunity I can do this year that will make me more than 30 grand? Or do I focus on doing the real estate thing so I can offset my taxable income?
Do you have to tie up in real estate to save $30,000 of taxes?
Well, I would basically, I may be incorrect on this, but from what my research indicates, if I do a short-term rental property like an Airbnb, and let's say there's a $300,000 purchase price, I would probably end up putting 10% down on that, 30 grand. I get the home, I get somebody in there, it starts cash flowing, I make a little money off the rental, off of Airbnb, but then I do a cost segregation study. This should create a year one, I can claim depreciation year one of, I believe it is approximately 20% of the total purchase price. So if 20% of the total purchase price, $300,000, is going to be about 60 grand on year one depreciation, tax deductible I can claim. And so if I have $100,000 in taxable income, I just knock $60,000 off of that right there. Now I'm at about a $40,000 taxable income. Then I'm not paying that much in taxes. I may have some other deductions as well from starting up this YouTube channel that costs a little bit of money as well. And then doing other deductions throughout the year, because then this would technically make me a real estate investor, which would give me other write-offs and deductions as well, as I'm sure you're aware. And basically, long story short, by the end of the year, I shouldn't be paying much in taxes if I can map this plan out appropriately. And that was kind of my plan for this year, was probably end of Q3, start of Q4, do a short-term rental property, or maybe do a DSCR loan and do a Section 8 property. I'm not 100% sure which route I'm going to go yet. Right now, I just need to save up the money. So when end of Q3 comes, I can start doing some serious shopping, make an informed decision, and make a move.
Yeah. I think where I struggle with is I understand why you're doing this, but I'm seeing a lot of money tied up. We're only saying 10% down, all that stuff, but I'm seeing you tie up money, and you're saving, but again, it's like once you do depreciation, it's great. It's great. I love what Carlton teaches. You're doing that depreciation, but then it's like, it's kind of the thing that you got to keep doing. So it's like if you're in a high income, it could be a great strategy. It's like, hey, you're making $400,000 a year, do your thing. That's just your game plan. It's awesome. I see somebody who is going to do that or do what I'm suggesting, because I don't know if you can do both with your energy and time. So my question is, my gut is saying is there's right now, if I'm talking to a high income earner who their one goal is to keep more money to then passively invest, I see like, dude, you get an investment property. Real estate, when set up and used properly, could cash flow It could increase your net worth. You could use leverage. You get to use depreciation for taxes. There's a lot of benefits to that.
Yep.
But it's almost like if I was talking to someone who's, making $50,000 a year, and they're paying a little bit of tax, but it's like, man, I want to do everything I can. And it's like, I'm like, dude, you could probably make $100,000 a year, knowing what you know. But they're just so focused on not paying their tax that they're like, hey, I don't want to do this. So, but they're never able to like really double down and make. Do you realize their life changes a lot if they made an additional 50,000?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, going from 50 to 100 is crazy. Yeah.
So someone who makes more money than you, I'm looking at your skill set and I'm looking at all the opportunities and I'm saying, man, I'm talking to someone who can make a lot more money just with like what you have to give.
And I appreciate that, and I think that you're right. I just need to find a more. I need to sell higher ticket items.
Right.
Bottom line.
And there's a lot of things that, I mean, all the things you're gonna rewatch this and take good notes of like just like there's a lot of things that we talked about. There's a lot of different paths to making more money. The thing that I want to say is like you think you have a tax problem now. Wait till you make $1 million a year.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
I bet.
My point that I'm making is I love tax strategy, and I think there's tax strategies you can do today. And I'm glad to share some with you and like love that. What I don't want you to do is be so focused, because what you're doing is you're saving money, but you're almost guaranteeing that you're not able to invest in anything that's actually going to help you double your income.
Yep.
And so I'm not saying pay the $30,000 in tax. I'm saying we got to understand opportunity cost. And on one hand, it's like we could put $30K and do all these things, and like, yeah, we get a property and all that stuff. There's benefits there, just like there's 401k, just like 12% compounded, in a 401k is great. But I'm saying like, okay, that's keeping you to where you like, I don't know if that necessarily, I'm using this phrase a lot, but I don't know if that activity actually gets you to where you want to go. I would be saying something totally different if you were a different human.
Yeah.
But that's the encouragement that I would have, and the challenge is measure everything with it. You don't have unlimited money. So if we had $30,000 or $40,000, would that be better off trying to offset 20 or 30? That like, or would that be better off maybe like making more money? Now I understand the more money you make, we need to have good tax strategies, and we're not going to bring it to zero, but there's good tax strategies out there that you should know, and it's not like you should be ignorant. But I think it would have been a huge mistake if I was starting BetterWealth when I started making my first 150,000. If I put my mind to doing real estate or other things and didn't double down on our business.
Built a business, yeah.
And I just look at business like you're just an individual business.
Yep.
BetterWealth on paper provides a whole lot more value than you do, but I'm very unemotional about it.
Yeah.
And so that's just what I think that could be the heart of it, and that's where it's like we could look at the end of the year, but I definitely think there's people get caught up in the flash, and they're like, and I think sometimes we need to like that. We need to lean in a little bit extra and be like, okay, what is the actual result of my actions? And how is this going to play not just short term? How is this going to play long term? Yeah. And I'm talking about like, I really believe you could be taking $30,000, $40,000, investing it in things that could double your income.
Okay.
And not just double your income once, but once you create that brand and skill set.
Doubling and doubling, compounding essentially.
And with more money allows paying people, like maybe a tax strategist, and maybe there's other things out there. And maybe when you're hitting $400,000 a year, you're like, Caleb, like a lot of these things that are my dream become really good realities. Yep. And you're like, okay, yeah, I could maybe make 500, but really I would be better off now passively investing. Then it'd be like, how cool would it be to do real estate that reduces your taxes and gives you cash flow? That's brilliant.
Oh, magical, yeah. That's the goal.
But so it's not a bad thing. It's just what season. And I think sometimes it's like when you're at your level, you can only see like it's hard to see. But if we look at someone at $30,000,
yeah.
I had someone that made less than $20,000 the other day ask me what they should invest their money in. And it's like, why would you should invest in yourself?
Yep.
And it's obvious when you're making less than 20,000, and it becomes. But you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's like when I'm making 20 grand, it's just investing in yourself, because you're totally right. Back in the day when I was younger, making 20, 30 grand a year, I never thought for 1 second about investment. It was just, how can I make more money? And now that I make 6 figures, now it's like, okay, how can I reduce my taxes? How can I invest my money? But like you were saying, I have the potential to make so much more. And it's always been difficult for me to believe in myself, always.
Yep.
Just to share with you,
Yep.
when I was a child, and we're good now, so I don't want to sound like I'm talking trash. Me and my mom, we're totally good now. Life's good. I love my mom very much. We're totally cool now. But when I was a kid, and she would agree with me on this, she was strung out on drugs, and she was rather abusive when I was a child. There's many times when I recall being 4, 5, 6 years old, my mom telling me that I hate that I had you. You were a mistake.
Yeah.
And now that I'm grown and I've been through my own trials and tribulations, I understand that there was times when she was coming down, being on drugs and coming down. And when you're in that state of mind, you say the most ruthless, disrespectful things to the people closest to you. It's ridiculous. And so I know now that that's what was happening. But when I was a little kid, imagine your mother when you're 5 years old telling you you're a mistake and I wish I never had you and God, I hate you and all this crap. It ingrains in your soul, and it's kind of on a subconscious level. And so over the past 6 years, recovering from drug addiction and getting from homeless to owning a home, it's been a big deal for me. And it's made my brain kind of go, you can do this. And so I'm just now, honestly, Caleb, I've just over the past year developed enough confidence in myself to go, you know what? I can sell. And I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, totally successfully. But only over the past year have I developed confidence. I used to get nervous before I recall. I'd feel nervous when I pick up the phone, and the nerves go away when I start talking to the customer. And even though I'm selling, I have a bad week at work, I start tripping, man. I start feeling really worried and scared. And the managers and executives at my work, they're like, the only person that's worried about your numbers is you. We all know you're going to be fine. We all know you're just having a bad week. And only, I would say, over the past year have I gotten to a point where I feel like a good amount of confidence. And so I feel like my sales numbers will continue to grow. And I also feel like if I got into selling higher ticket items, that would benefit me in a major way. And so I like the conversation we're having today, because I never met you before today. Obviously, we talked for the first time today. And I can tell you look me dead in the eye, listen to what I say, and you're like, you can make a hell of a lot more money. And it feels good to hear that from a very well-educated stranger such as yourself. So thank you, man.
It's just the point of if you have that entrepreneurial drive.
Yeah.
And it's just it's maybe easier because I'm not emotional about your situation. Yeah. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but you've already done what so many people can't. So you have an incredible story. You've already done it. And I'm just seeing somebody that's the biggest thing that's going to get in your way is distractions. And if I could, I think that would be the good reminder, because you're going to come up with great opportunities. And my question would be, does that take away from the it factor? And if the answer is yes, don't do it. If the answer is it enhances it, great. But the real estate example is a perfect example of what it's really an either or. You could do that and you get a benefit, and I don't want to underplay that benefit at all.
Yeah.
What is a true cost? Well, we don't really know, because we don't know what would have happened if you would have went all in.
Yeah, I went all in on myself, invest there.
But you also have to, devil's advocate, you have to be like, okay, I go all in. What does that actually mean? You need your own business plan, and you might be going all in, and you might have to be realistic to be like, wow, I suck as a business person. Maybe I need to find a partner, or maybe I can't sell things that are high ticket or something. You have to be realistic. You can't just keep throwing money with no accountability.
Yep.
But all day long, brother, all day long.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming on. And I also just want to say thank you so much for watching this. I don't know how this is going to come to you from a standpoint. I don't know if this is going to get chopped up. It's going to be one long. But I want to thank you for watching till the end. And if you know people, or if you yourself want to be brave like Ty and come into town, we will, open up our home and break bread together and dive into the real issues. And if you know people that should be on the show, I would encourage them to go apply down below. And if there's anything that we can do at BetterWealth, we want to serve you, whether you're brave like Ty and want to come on the show, or if you just want to talk to someone on our team. And so, Ty, I'm proud of you, man. You're gonna serve and help lots of people, and your story is going to be open up the door and inspire people who may not even have the resources because they're strung up on drugs right now, but they might come across your story. They might hear you speak on stage, and you might encourage them to believe in their self. And everyone's in a different state. They might believe in their self to make their first 50,000, and that 50,000 could be significant. Yep. I want to make myself very clear that everyone's on a different path, and everyone's whys are different. Yep. And it's not one is better than the other. It's just making sure that you when you go to bed at night, you're happy with the effort and input that you're putting in. And so I'm proud of you for being here, and I'm excited to see what the ripple effects are from our time together.
Me too, man. Thank you very much for bringing me on the show. And I do want to encourage everyone, come to Tennessee. Very nice house, very nice guy. I've had a very good time being here. It's been all gravy. I hope that sharing my story helps some of you realize you can go from homeless to owning a $500,000 home in less than 5 years, and I'm living proof of that. So we actually bought the house beginning of 2022, right before rates started going crazy. I want to say we got it in March of 22. And so, you can go from homeless to having a home, doing a total 180 in less than 5 years. It's no problem at all. You're looking at a prime example right here. So
we got a natural looking at the camera. Dad, like I'm telling you, dude, you're unbelievable. You're unbelievable. Hey,
thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Very cool, man.